This video is about our Social Security system, how it works, a couple of misunderstandings that a lot of people have about the system, and what the future holds for the system. So the Social Security system is funded by FICA taxes. So those are often called the payroll taxes, and they're a little over 14%. So they're pretty substantial. And if you're employed as a W-2 employee, your employer pays half of your Social Security FICA taxes. So in other words, you're paying a little over 7%, and they're paying a little over 7%. But if you're an independent contractor, you're paying a little over 14% yourself, and then you start paying income taxes after that. So a lot of people feel like the Social Security system is run as a private pension. You've heard people call for people's right to self-manage the money that's their FICA taxes are funding, or to privatize the system. Usually those calls come from a pretty gross misunderstanding of the system, because that money that you're putting into it is not set aside for your retirement. That money is going directly to pay the benefits of people who've already retired. So in other words, working people are paying the benefits of retired people on a real-time basis. So it's not a nest egg for you. And what you're relying on is that there will be working people in the future who are going to be paying your benefits when you retire. So that's an important differentiator. Now, the math behind this is sobering. As time has passed, the math changes as a ratio of workers to retirees. So decades ago, it used to be 15 to 1. In other words, there were 15 workers for every one retiree. But today that ratio is closer to 3 to 1. And a lot of people project that we'll go to 2 to 1. So the math doesn't really work as well for current workers paying for retiree benefits. In the 80s was when they bumped FICA to 14%. And at that time, they were planning for the future in the sense that they were collecting quite a bit more money than they needed in benefits, but they could see the aging population. And so that created, that excess money was what created something called the Social Security Trust Fund. And that money's not invested in equities either. That money actually goes right into U.S. Treasury bonds. So in essence, if you look at what we were doing, the excess money from FICA taxes was just going to cover the deficit spending from income taxes not being enough to cover the government's budget. So that trust fund is really comprised of U.S. Treasury bonds. And a number of years ago, we got to the inflection point where the amount of money being taken in through FICA grew to be less than the benefits. So they're depleting the Treasury bonds. They're depleting that trust fund now. And it's a matter of 5-7 years, depending on whose projections you believe, until the trust fund is exhausted. And at that point in time, not too far in the future, we're going to have to do one of two things. We're either going to have to increase FICA taxes above 14%, or we're going to have to cut benefits for those people who are retired. And we may have to do a little of both. So that's the problem. And that problem only grows worse, the differential. Taxes would continue to have to get higher as time goes by and or benefits reduced. So the current system is it's arguably bankrupt. Maybe that's a severe word, but it's in the negative zone. And there are some options. If you look on my YouTube channel or you go to thefinancialfreedomact.com, the website that I've put up, you can see some solutions, some alternatives to Social Security. And I'll make another video on that, and we'll talk about that. There are some pretty easy solutions to what is otherwise a really grim problem.